He's Mark Kiszla. He's the economist for the Denver Post. And looks like the offensive coordinator for the Broncos, Mike McCoy, is gone. And there are reports that say he's the next head coach of the San Diego Chargers. Is that the case, Mark?
I think he is gone. He's been a hot candidate. There are people in Denver today saying, hey, was he a little distracted on heading up to that playoff loss? But that's what people always say when you lose a playoff game.
All right, let's look at the end of regulation here, because that seems to be the focus here of Denver, Peyton Manning, timeouts, 30 seconds to go, granted at your own 20-yard line. John Fox, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Mike McCoy, everybody on the same page, reading from the same script, that everybody was fine with the play calling or lack thereof. What's the feeling there if you were going to gauge the fan base on what they thought, how that ended?
I think there's a Denver Post poll. I'll pull in my newspaper and said, what would you do? Now, everybody gets 20/20 hindsight, but the poll was 93 or 94% of people think you should go for it there. You should try to score. So I'd say the voice is pretty strong, and I want my guy to go each and every time. I asked Elway yesterday, you're the quarterback. Do you want to take a knee there? And he dodged the question. He said, our team did the right thing. But there's no way John Elway takes a knee there.
I said the same thing, that they did not play the way Elway played, and this isn't the way Peyton Manning is. He's not a conservative guy. John Fox, you could say, I think he treated Peyton like he was Jake Delhomme.
You know what? I'll blow it up a little more, Dan, because that's what I do. That's why you have me. He treated Peyton Manning like he was Tim Tebow.
They let Tebow throw.
Yeah, well, I guess. Okay, I'm wrong. Yes. He treated Peyton Manning worse than Tim Tebow. Can you live with that?
Who's getting blamed today in Denver?
Primarily Fox for being so conservative. Fox after the big formal press conference yesterday went time and time again to a small group of us and cited the percentages. And he, 3rd and 7 that with 2 minutes left, he says there's a 38 to 40% chance you pick that up. And I was like, yeah, but he's Peyton Manning. Let him try. And so John Fox has a different coaching view than me. He's won way more NFL games than I ever will. I get that. But my view of how you coach a football game is big moments call for bold moves. Let's go. Let's win it. We're the best. Don't care what the other team does. So he wouldn't coach for me, but I don't own any NFL team, so he don't have to worry about it.
But Peyton, can he overrule what's called in if they say take a knee?
I would hope he would just put his hand to the helmet and say, no, we're not doing that. But
I have to believe that he would have total autonomy. That's what you bring in. He's the offensive coordinator, and that he would be able to say, no, trust me on this. And even if you throw 2 passes and they're incomplete, you can run it, and then you run out the clock, and then you go into overtime. But at least, and you got Prater, you got one of the better long-range field goal kickers in the game. So I didn't get there was a lack of aggression there, at the end of the regulation.
Okay, here's one thing I will say, and maybe it's a little off the topic, but it's something I've been talking about today, is that when you cite Peyton Manning and his record in the playoffs, there's one difference between him and Elway. Elway walked into the burning building and said, this is what I do. I rescue you when all looks hopeless, and Peyton Manning doesn't do that as well as John Elway. There's a lot of things Peyton Manning does better than Elway, but that one thing, when all looks lost, to take control, Peyton Manning, is maybe he thinks it too much to do that.
Well, Eli may be a little bit better at that than Peyton.
Agreed. I entirely agree. Eli's got a little more Elway in him than Peyton does. But, brothers aren't the same.
He's Mark Kiszla, the columnist for the Denver Post, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. We had Rodney Harrison on, who, of course, defensive back for the Patriots, and he talked about Raheem Moore. And I asked him, how can you explain that in the coverage you're in, that you let somebody behind you? Here's what Rodney Harrison said about Raheem Moore.
He was trying to be the hero. He wanted to be the guy that says, you know what, I intercepted and I won the game for us, which was stupid, which was dumb, and he's kicking himself in the butt. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be the hero instead of just sitting back 30, 40 yards and not let anyone get behind you. Just get deeper than the deepest. If the man catches the ball, tackle him in bounds, and the clock eventually will run out. But everyone wants to be the hero because that's what they see.
What do you think?
100%. No, not 100%. 143% correct. I talked to Raheem Moore face-to-face after the game, and all props to Raheem Moore. I mean, he took every question, and he never got upset, and he said, it's all on me. And at one point he said, you know what, I got too happy, and I absolutely thought I was going to intercept the ball. And he's a young guy. And he also describes himself as Raheem the Dream. He thought he was going to have his Deion Sanders moment, and he was going to pick it off, and then he was going to, do the little turtle, and then he was going to get up and he was going to hold the ball to everybody and go, "Are you not entertained?" And dude, you messed it up.
I still have to hold this defense accountable because you let the Ravens go in there, and they did what they wanted to do. You know, they were scoring. Joe Flacco looked like Joe Montana. Where was the defense? Where was Doomerville? Where were your pass rushers there?
I mean, Champ Bailey, surefire Hall of Famer, got toasted twice. So it's beyond Raheem Moore. And then John Fox said yesterday that actually, looking at the tape, he thought Von Miller played a pretty darn good game. Here's what they did, though. Instead of making Von Miller a pass rusher, they said, we're going to stop Ray Rice with Von Miller, and that didn't work. So I think their defensive plan was not very good. I think that's safe to say.
And they're going to pick up the option on Peyton, so 2 more years for Peyton Manning in Denver?
At least, yes, I think so. And so that's the window. So you tell me, you tell the people of Denver, this year people thought from the outside this team's not quite ready, and is Peyton really going to be Peyton? Next year the pressure is far different, don't you think?
Well, here's the thing, though, Kiz. I think if you look at this and you go, this was a playoff team. You had a running attack and you had a good defense. You start there. Then I put in Peyton Manning. Even 75% of Peyton Manning still makes you a very competitive team. It's an upgrade from Tim Tebow. So I think the expectations were there. I think people were kind of put a veil over them because you didn't know about the surgery. But, you still had a pretty good team there already in place there.
No, I think they got to be considered one of the favorites next year. I just think the pressure and it is Super Bowl bust. I think John Elway believed he was ahead of the curve this year. He had an opportunity to win the Super Bowl before John Elway expected it. But next year, John Elway knows the window's closing on Peyton Manning. We got to win it. We got to go to New York. And Peyton Manning's already talking about playing a Super Bowl in the cold in New York, so he's thinking the same way.
How much do you think the cold bothered Peyton?
I think a little bit. I believed all along, from day one, just watching them, it was not so much arm strength, it was touch from the nerves. And if it's cold, if you got nerve damage, I've only ever had brain damage, so I don't know about nerve damage. But I would think that the cold doesn't make that nerve damage feel any better. So I do think it probably had some effect. John Fox said yesterday, I'll be honest with you, I wish if we had our choices, it would have been a 40-degree day instead of a 10-degree day.
Mark, good to visit with you. Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
All right, Mark Kiszla, Denver Post columnist.